Here at Beaulieu today, collecting time-expired pyrotechnics, the types of things that you would find on your leisure boats or indeed commercial vessels. And we're here in conjunction with the Hampshire Constabulary, particularly the Marine Unit, which we undertake a number of events with throughout the year. Today we've taken in a few hundred of the flares so far. Much of the day is left, and we hope for a good haul. But the flares come in two real categories: the things that are generally just out of date and they're safe for us to transport away to another disposal site, and the other pyrotechnics which are essentially unfit for any transportation, and we'll be undertaking a safe, controlled disposal here later on this afternoon. These are some examples of the items that we've come across today. These are relatively safe items. These have been gone through our process of checking and ensuring that they are fit for transport. So we have buoyant smoke items, we have hand flares, and we also have some parachute rockets. A good array, standard things that we would normally find on such events. Equally, alongside these items, we get things that are quite dodgy. I'm going to leave them in the cage, but the cage down to my left-hand side here is retaining these items, and these are the things that we'll have to dispose of at some point later today. About 30 or 40 so far, but sometimes we can get upwards of 200, which is quite a large explosive content if you were to add it all together. Each flare has about 100 grams of explosive content, so if you multiply that along, you've got quite a large amount of explosives. It's important on a number of levels. Obviously, from a safety at sea perspective, you want your flares to work every time you need them. Thankfully, most people don't need them that often. But when you come to use it, you want it to be in good condition. You want it to work as intended, because that's why you bought the flare. And we sometimes get comments from people who are a bit reluctant to sort of get rid of them. They think they'll work forever. But there's lots of evidence to suggest that flares do degrade over time. In particular, they won't be as effective. I'm not suggesting that they'll detonate in any way, but they won't be as effective as they perhaps were intended to be, and therefore you may not get the full benefit from them. Equally, over time they do degrade in other ways, and you might get a different reaction from your flare. So rather than something coming out of the top, it might come out of the side, which is obviously not something you would want. So you need to be careful on those safety fronts. And also, it is an explosive item, so you have to dispose of it in a compliant and safe manner. So you can't put them in your local waste recycling depot, you can't just put them through a letterbox. We've had problems where people have just dumped them at sites that were perhaps intended to be disposal sites, but not a formal handover, and that's what we're doing today. It's a formal handover. We call it an amnesty, but it's not illegal to have flares, it's just the word that we use. People come along, hand us the flares. We don't record how many they give us. We do ask for a donation for maritime charities, and we take the items away and safely dispose of them in a compliant manner.